You ever wake up to a letter so absurd that you have to check twice to make sure it isn't a prank? That was me, coffee halfway to my lips, standing in my driveway, staring at an official-looking envelope stamped Urgent Show Violation Notice. At first, I thought it was another one of those neighborhood reminders about trash bins or grass length. But no, this was a direct order. Apparently, my garage door was in violation of neighborhood color code standards. Translation? Karen from the HOA didn't like the shade of beige. See, Karen is the self-appointed queen of our neighborhood's HOA, a clipboard in one hand, binoculars in the other, always on patrol. She once made my neighbor repaint his mailbox because it was too cheerful. So, when she saw my garage door freshly painted after a weekend of hard work, she apparently had a full meltdown. The letter demanded I repaint it in compliance with the neighborhood's approved palette, or face a 500 fine. The crazy part? There was no official palette, just Karen's word. And her word was law, at least that's what she thought. I called the HOA office. The lady on the phone sighed before I even finished explaining. Let me guess, she said. Karen? Turns out I wasn't the first victim. Karen had been issuing unofficial citations to everyone she didn't like, using fake HOA letterhead she printed herself. But when I asked if they could do something about it, the office told me to stay civil and work it out among neighbors. Oh, I was going to work it out, all right, but not the way they meant. A few days later, Karen came marching up my driveway in her sun visor and pink tracksuit, pointing at my garage like it was a crime scene. This color is not authorized, she barked. You'll have to repaint immediately. Contractors will arrive Monday. Wait, contractors? I hadn't hired anyone. Neighborhood law, she said smugly. They have no choice but to comply. I didn't know what kind of power trip she was on, but I decided then and there I wasn't going down without a fight. Because if Karen wanted a spectacle over a garage door, she was about to get one she'd never forget. Monday morning rolled around, and I was greeted by the sound of a diesel engine idling in front of my house. I stepped outside in my slippers, and sure enough, a white contractor van was parked at the curb. Two guys unloading paint cans and rollers. Morning? One of them called out cheerfully. We're here to repaint the garage. HOA request. My jaw nearly hit the pavement. Wait, you're what? They showed me their work order. It was signed by Karen Simmons, HOA chairwoman. The problem? Karen wasn't officially authorized to hire anyone under the HOA's name. She'd gone completely rogue. I could see her across the street, pretending to trim her roses but obviously watching the whole scene. She had that smug, satisfied smirk that said, I win. Sorry, sir, one contractor said. We're just following the order. It says here the homeowner must comply under neighborhood regulation. Section... He squinted at the clipboard. Section 14B. There was no Section 14B, I knew, because I'd spent half of Sunday reading the HOA bylaws just to be sure. That's when an idea sparked, one that made me grin right back at Karen. Fellas, I said, lowering my voice conspiratorially. Tell you what, you've got paint, right? And I'm paying for it either way? They nodded cautiously. Then let's make sure this door is completely compliant. I went inside, pulled up my phone, and found the HOA's official color guide. There were no specific shades listed. Just neutral tones compatible with the aesthetic of the neighborhood. Perfect. So, instead of painting my door beige, gray, or taupe, we went with a color technically neutral, but guaranteed to rattle. Karen's nerves, a brilliant, shimmering metallic gold. As the rollers hit the surface, I saw her freeze mid-trim. Her shears dropped into the mulch. Within minutes, she was storming across the street. What are you doing? That's illegal, she shrieked. The lead painter looked at her calmly. Ma'am, it's listed as a neutral metallic, complies with HOA standards. Her face turned a shade of red I didn't think humans could produce. You'll regret this, she snapped. I'll have the board fine you into next week. But here's the kicker. By that evening, the contractors called to confirm payment from the HOA's own account. Apparently, Karen had submitted their invoice under official HOA expenses before the job was even done. In short, she just paid for my golden garage, and I was only getting started. By Thursday, the entire neighborhood knew about my gold garage. Some folks slowed their cars just to get a look. Others gave me a thumbs up as they passed. But the best part? Every evening I'd see Keran pacing her front porch, muttering into her phone like a general plotting revenge. It didn't take long. That weekend, I got another envelope on my doorstep, stamped again with Urgent HO Notice. Inside was a formal summons to an emergency compliance meeting. Translation, Keran's revenge party. I showed up to the HOA clubhouse right on time. The room was already full, neighbors whispering. Keran standing at the front like she was about to deliver a State of the Union address. Her visor sat perfectly straight, and her binder was bursting with evidence. "Thank you for joining us," she began in her overly sweet, robotic voice. "We're here to address a serious violation, one that threatens the integrity of our neighborhood's visual harmony." She clicked her remote, and a photo of my sparkling gold garage filled the projector screen. The room actually gasped. "That," she declared dramatically, "is not a neutral color." I raised my hand calmly. According to HOA Bylaws, Section 6, Paragraph 3, neutral colors are defined as any tone that doesn't detract from the neighborhood aesthetic. Metallics weren't excluded. The room went silent. Keran blinked rapidly, clearly not expecting me to quote her own rule book. She stammered, "Well, the contractors confirmed it was a miscommunication. You hired them under false pretenses." "Actually," I said, smiling, "you hired them." I pulled out copies of the work order and the HOA's payment receipt. A collective murmur spread through the room. One neighbor in the back even whispered, "She paid for it?" Keran's face drained of color. That's not possible." The HOA treasurer, an older gentleman named Frank, cleared his throat. "Keran, this payment came from the HOA maintenance fund. It's on the books. You authorized it." She spun around. "That's a clerical error." "It has to be!" But the room was already buzzing. People had been waiting for this moment for years, proof that Queen Keran's neighborhood law was nothing more than her personal rule book. Frank closed his folder and said flatly, "Until we investigate this, there will be no fines or repainting." Meeting adjourned. Keran stormed out, fuming. I half expected her to combust right there. But what she did next made even the gold paint seem tame. The morning after the HOA meeting, my doorbell rang again. I opened it to find, of course, Keran. No visor this time, just fury in human form. She jabbed a finger toward my golden garage. "Enjoy your little stunt while you can," she hissed. "I've reported you to the county property inspector. Let's see how long your masterpiece lasts when they show up." Then she spun on her heel and stormed off, her words echoing down the street. I honestly thought she was bluffing, until a white county truck pulled up 2 days later. A man in an orange vest stepped out, clipboard in hand. "Mr. Davis?" he asked. "We received a complaint about unauthorized exterior modifications." I sighed. "Let me guess, Keran Simmons?" He chuckled. "You're the third house she's reported this month. Don't worry, we know the drill." He walked around, took a few photos, and said, "Actually, this is one of the most professionally done paint jobs I've seen. She told us it was spray-painted graffiti." I laughed. "You're kidding." He shook his head. "Nope, but I'm adding a note to your file that your garage fully complies with local code, and HOA interference isn't enforceable under county law." In short, Keran's report backfired. That night, I got an email from the HOA board. Apparently, the treasurer and 2 other members had opened a formal ethics investigation against Keran. The misuse of HOA funds for unauthorized contractor activity was a serious violation. The following weekend, a notice went out to all residents, effective immediately. Keran Simmons is suspended from her duties pending review. The neighborhood celebrated like it was the 4th of July. Someone even brought lawn chairs and popcorn to my driveway just to take selfies with the gold garage, the very one Keran tried to destroy. But the final twist came a week later. The same contractors returned, this time under official HOA instruction, to repaint Keran's garage. Apparently, the board discovered her house didn't meet several of the same standards she'd been enforcing. The irony? They painted hers the same metallic gold to maintain visual consistency within the community. When I walked by that afternoon, she was standing in her yard, arms crossed, watching her own punishment dry in the sunlight. I gave her a friendly wave. "Looks good on you, Keran." She didn't wave back. But the neighborhood sure did. And that's how one HOA bully learned that the real neighborhood law is simple. Don't start a war you can't finish. Enjoying these wild HOA Karen stories? Go ahead and hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next neighborhood showdown. Give this video a like if you think the gold garage was the perfect revenge, and drop a comment below. What would you have done if Karen came after your house?